much. Second right here. Thank you, everyone, for coming out. I don't know about men's basketball, but women's basketball here in NCAA, we are in a recruiting shutdown. And for those who are in women's basketball, thank you so much for coming out and growing yourself. Are you guys in dead period too, Mike? Are you guys on recruiting shutdown? You guys are?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So both men's and women's basketball in NCAA, thank you so much for wanting to grow. This is important for us and obviously for you for being here. We are having more sessions coming up the next weeks or so, and we'll announce at the end. But before we get started and have Mahmoud speak, I would really want to introduce our sponsor, JT. He's with All Athlete. I've known JT for maybe a year or so, but I feel like I've known him forever. And a great person, a great a person to get to know, and his platform is definitely something that you should and want to be a part of. But JT, I'll go ahead and let you kind of introduce yourself and kind of talk about your All Athlete platform.
I appreciate that, Steve, and welcome everyone. I'm excited, as I imagine you are. So I'm not going to take very long. I want to get to Coach Abdel Fattah, but we're we built All Athlete in response to what we recognize to be deficiencies in the recruiting process. We had to go to a lot of places to find a lot of different information, and still we'd only have an incomplete picture of what an athlete was. So we are a recruiting platform where coaches can find athletes easily, and then coaches can also put their resume out for public consumption, right, and for people to evaluate and see. So what I've got here is our platform. If you can take a look at it, I'm sharing my screen. Right, we're able to search any number of players, right? And so these are just some of the users on here. EJ Walker's a top 2025 out of Louisville, Kentucky. Daniel Tobolova is a 7-footer out of Iowa. We've got coaches on here, special teams coordinator at Alabama for football, Coleman Hutzler. We've got the offensive coordinator for the Washington Commanders. Got a lot of guys on here, and we can curate a specialized list for athletes. So if we're looking for men's basketball players that are guards, small forwards, or forwards who are 6'1" and 7/8 or taller, we can generate this list right here. And then if we were to look at EJ Walker, we'd be able to see 6'8", some of his personal best statistics, where he goes to high school, where his travel ball team is, right, with All Ohio. And then you can look at these tagged highlights, right? So if you want to look at his, 3-point shooting, right, you can just very simply pull it up here. It's a clip. Fast forward to whatever it is you're looking for, and you can see just the different skills, right? So it's not just a highlight film, anything like that, right? It's a lot more targeted and specific. So articles that he's tagged in or visits that he's going on, they're all cataloged here, right? So whether it's going to Xavier, again, going to West Virginia, going to Illinois State, all of this, right? So really useful that way. And we believe that it's going to revolutionize what's being done in the recruiting space for all athletes in all sports, because it's really hard to know how an athlete competes in other sports because you're so focused on what they're doing in basketball. And so we help work with Riverside and Coach Magpio at his elite camp. It's completely free to athletes and coaches. We want to generate revenue, just like Facebook and Twitter, with advertising and premium profile insights. And so we're building a community. We've got an Asian Coaches Association page on All Athlete. This is our QR code right here. So if you can get out your phone and scan it, or you can go to allathlete.com, or you can find us on the iPhone App Store, All Athlete, one word, right? And so we've got close to 35,000 users. We've only been open to the public for 5 months, but we sponsored the men's and women's coaches mixers, all you can drink for the guys. At least we got to get the women's mixer to step it up a little bit, Yang. I don't know if that means we got to come out of pocket more or whatever that is, but maybe if we get some more people, right, get more great coaches doing more great things. Asian Coaches Association, just remember, you don't have to be Asian to be in it, right? We're positive by association and involved and invested that way. So please support All Athlete. Give it a look. Download the app. Create a profile. See what it is. I'm happy to answer questions. I'll put my contact information in the chat, but that's enough for me. Enjoy the rest of the night.
JT, this is great, man. I appreciate you. Like JT said, I mean, that platform really, I don't know about y'all, but when it comes to recruiting, and you're over here trying to find video and film on all these kids that want to make sure you're recruiting the right kid and social media and whatnot. They've got it all under one platform, one umbrella. It makes it so much easier, saves you time where you can go back home and kiss your babies and be with your spouses. So thank you, JT. Appreciate you a lot and what you do for the Asian Coach Association. So JT's got his contact there. If you ever need to reach out to him, it should be there. And we'll provide it too if you guys don't catch on to it. So, all right. So let's go ahead and talk about our man of the hour. I've known this guy for quite some time. Man, I don't even know. It's been quite a minute, huh? A long minute. And, he's been doing this for quite some, I don't know, was it 13, 14 years or so? I feel longer, but he's been the same. And I want you to know that I've known him for a while, but he's always the same person. And I think Mike can agree with me, and those who know can agree that Mahmoud's always been the same person since day one. And everyone I come into contact with that knows Mahmoud would say the same thing. And it's consistent about who he is and his character and his personality. But you'll get a glimpse of that here in a bit. But before we get into that, I want you to kind of read off a little bit some of his achievements. It's important to understand where he's been and what he's done. He started off in Chicago at a Perspectives Charter School in 2011. So you're talking, 12 years ago, just about. And spent some time after that, 2 years there, and after 2 years there, he spent some time with St. Cloud State, where he went to school at. About 4 years there, is that right? 2013 to 17.
Yep, correct.
And then after that, he went to the G League down here in Rio Grande Valley Vipers, which is affiliated with the Houston Rockets in 2018 and 19, when he started as an assistant coach. And then he took over as the head coach in 2019 to 2022. And he was the first ever Palestinian and Muslim to be named head coach of an NBA or NBA G League franchise. Is that correct, Mahmoud?
Correct. I appreciate the love. God bless you.
Man, that's amazing. I mean, let's be honest. The first is always amazing. Let's be real about that. The first of your people it means a lot. And I know you've got a lot of people that looks up to you, but even myself, man, it means a lot to everyone, and those of close friends and far friends too. So, I don't know if a lot of people know this too, but you're also the recipient of the Dennis Johnson Trophy as the G League Coach of the Year.
I was, yes. Yep, this past season, thankfully.
I believe you're the second Rio Grande Valley coach to be named, to earn that, right? To earn Coach of the Year. So that's pretty impressive there. And then you're the first year, this is your first year head coach, assistant coach with the Houston Rockets, right? And then This is your second year on the Asian Coaches Association Zoom session, right? So first or second year with us. The one thing I will say before we get into it is just Mahmoud's been very successful everywhere he's been at, and the resume speaks for itself. But I do want to say thank you, Mahmoud, for your time. Thank you for what you do for the game itself and the people in your circle, man. It means a lot. So with all that being said, thank you, man. I'll let you take over.
Appreciate you, my man. Thank you guys all for obviously joining and jumping on. Good to see some familiar faces. Good to see everybody. JT, good stuff. Appreciate the support as well. Asian Coach Association. I remember the first meeting, now thinking about it, Mike, I believe it was in New Orleans when AD was a freshman at Kentucky. So I think that was 11-12, and that was the first meeting I went to, and I believe there was about 10 of us. And I think everyone in that room might be a head coach now. So, but it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. Yeah, man. With everything that Steve mentioned, I honestly, one thing about me, I like to be as candid as can be. The way that this is going to go, I've been on multiple Zooms. I've been to a multiple coaches clinic as a listener and a speaker. I'm going to kind of just talk about a few points just throughout this season and just my time as the head coach as well. And I'll kind of hit on a few bullet points of each topic from, leadership to X's and O's and player development and kind of how they all mesh into one another. So I'm not going to try to rush through it. but I want to make sure I cover all points to kind of trigger some thoughts for you guys and leave more time for Q&A at the end. So if you guys have questions, about the leadership aspect that I talk about, the X's and O's, and with the X's and O's, I'm going to talk about offensive rebounding, and I'm going to talk about shot selection, and then player development. I'm going to talk about just a lot of individualized meetings and goals with the players, as well as on the court stuff, not just only with basketball, but just with our strength and conditioning coaches, our nutritionists as well. Because at the end of the day, I know we have college coaches here, high school coaches, some pro coaches. College is turning into a, transfer central, and the G League, the roster fluctuates every year. In my time as head coach, I think from year to year, we probably just turn over maybe 8 to 10 guys, and we probably keep maybe 2 guys, every year. So, and the way that college has changed, with the paying of players and the transfer portal, I think we can kind of relay, some of the same stuff. So feel free, I don't know how we're going to do the Q&A, Steve. I don't know if you want them to message it in to you or raise their hand.
Yeah, if they want to raise their hand or put it in the chat, and then I'll call on them, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, sounds good. So for you guys that don't know, first off, Rio Grande Valley, the G League affiliate for the Houston Rockets, been around for about 17 years. The previous head coaches, Nick Nurse, Chris Finch, Matt Brazzi, Joseph Blair, are all guys that have come before me. This year, I was fortunate enough to win the 4th championship in RGV Vipers history, most in the league. We have over 55 NBA call-ups. That is most in the league by 15, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But what I want to kind of start off with is just, some of the stuff that I learned from my first year. For you guys that don't know, I won my first game of my head coaching career, and then I started off 1-8. I lost 8 consecutive games, and it kind of went downhill, just real quick. And I had to evaluate myself and what I was doing, as a leader, more so than a coach. And what I did, and that's helped me till this day, I keep track of everything that I do in an Excel document, from a leadership perspective to a X's and O's perspective and a player development perspective. So going into every coach's meeting, I have our bullet points on what we're going to focus on. And then after practice is done and after that day is done, I will go back into my office, or, sometimes I'll go home if I have to meet with a couple of players and do it at home. But I will take notes on what I've done in that day. And in black, it will be what we accomplished. And in red will be what's needed to be changed, or something that we did not cover that I said I was going to cover in the coaches meeting. And how that helped me grow as an individual and as a coach till this day. I did it this year. I would go back and look back at my first year, what I did in training camp, what I did in practices. I look back at what I did in the bubble, and now it helped me grow in my 3rd year as a head coach. I really knew what I wanted to do. So in regards to just being prepared for the season, and I can tell all you guys, no matter what level you're on, number one, the most important, you've got to make sure that your staff is on the same page as you, plain and simple. The way that we play in RGV is a lot different than everybody else played in the G League. And, we're the highest scoring team in the G League, number 1 in G League history. We led the league in points. We led the league in offensive efficiency, and we led the league in offensive rebound percentage. Not just this year, but those 3 categories were in league history over the last 17 years. And I tell the guys, we had the talent. I've been blessed with a lot of players, Trevelyan Queen, Anthony Lamb, Fiondu Kabengele. Those guys bought in to what we were doing, but we kind of met halfway because they knew I was bought in to helping them achieve their goal on getting an NBA call-up. And the most important thing with doing that is making sure my staff is on board. And number one, the first thing that I did, I had a layout for my staff. I had about 10 bullet points and handed them each a document. I met with my 2 assistants. I had 2 interns, my strength and conditioning coach, athletic trainer, nutritionist / assistant athletic trainer, and then our equipment manager. I made sure I laid out the law of the land and how everything was going to be ran in RGV. Once again, something that I learned from my first year, but I knew for sure this is who Mahmoud Abdel Fattah is. This is who the RGV Vipers are going to be this year. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I know who I am. This is who the Vipers are going to be. So talk to them. And the most important things for us, obviously for me, you know, the way that I live my life is the way that I try to coach my team. You know, loyalty is number one. Everything that happens in the office stays in the office. Doesn't matter if we agree or disagree. Whatever's final is final when we go out there in front of the team, when we're out in front of the out on the court, and then enjoy yourself and have fun. At the end of the day, I'd like to think I'm very enthusiastic. I'm very positive. I always tell my staff if I see one of them walk in, and if there's something going on, call me, text me, we'll talk about it, but change your attitude because the players may be going through something else. They're already in the G League, and every single one of them thinks they should be on an NBA deal. So I've already got to deal with that. So I don't want my staff already starting off the day on the wrong foot in regards to that. So, and then last but not least, just the ways of communication. You know, some guys like texting, some guys like WhatsApp, some guys like emails, some guys use Slack. And you'll be surprised how that can affect the staff. It took probably about 3 to 4 weeks just this season. I still had some of my staff members sending stuff via email, via text, and they would come in next morning and I was like, I never looked at anything you sent me because I told you to send it on Slack. And that was my way of showing them like there's no messing around, and they all got on board. But for your team to be on board and achieve your goal, your staff has got to be on board, because you know once they walk out that door, they got to be preaching your same message every single day, whether it's in film, during player development sessions, or in practice. So those were some of the things that we did as a staff. And then as a team, one thing I learned from my first year, I kind of waited to have that first team meeting after the first couple of days. But I learned just in my time and just learned in my growth over the last 3 years, the season's going to go as that first meeting goes. Plain and simple. Whatever you set in that first meeting, that tone that you set in that first meeting will be how the season goes. My first year, I had the meeting, I think it was my 3rd day, going back to my notes, the 3rd day of training camp, I had the first official team meeting. Why? I have no clue. But I had it on the 3rd day, and we had 2 practices prior to. And I obviously wasn't effective for me. But this year, I just knew that the guys had to understand from day one what it's going to be. And the way that I laid it out for the guys, I called each and every one of them. It's different than college. It's different than NBA. You guys know who's coming in. You guys have already recruited these guys at the college level. You know, at high school, you may already know the incoming freshmen or the guys coming up from sophomore to junior, senior year. The G League, we draft 4 to 5 guys. The first day I see them is the first day of training camp. We signed 4 Exhibit 10 players. Some of the guys never come up to Houston. Some guys may spend 1 day in Houston, and then they go down to RGV. So I have probably about 80% of the roster that's in RGV before I get there. And the way that it's organized is my coaching staff is down there before me, because I'm still with Houston until training camp begins in RGV. So my assistant coaches are actually the ones that start, you know, individual workouts with those guys and getting them in shape. So I call every single one of our guys just to touch base via phone. And I honestly, I ask them, what do they want out of the season and what's successful for them? And that helps me hold them accountable, you know, in the individual meetings and on court. So when they get to RGV, we meet as a team, talk to them about the rules. Time is number one. Don't mess with time, and just be respectful of the staff. That's all I can ask. Because in RGV, and I told them, everybody's trying to get a call up, from the head coach to the players to the training staff. Everybody's trying to get a call up, so support one another, and we will all get the benefit of it. So do we have our team meeting, talking about the laws of the land? In their locker, I laid out all of the offensive terminology and defensive terminology that we will use throughout the season on one side of the locker. On the back part of their locker, where their back is towards, is their strength and conditioning plan and their nutrition plan. And then on the other side, that's the empty side, is their player development plan. So each side of their locker is full of something. So if you guys know how it is, some of the guys may be too shy to ask questions. If they're not familiar with the terminology, they can just look on the side of their locker. If they're not sure what their strength conditioning plan is, they can look behind them. If they're not sure what drills to do, from shooting drills, offense, defense, they can get any drills that's on the right side of their locker or left side and go on the court and grab one of the interns and just do some of those drills on court without pulling a coach and asking them for drills. So, and then kind of going after that, that allowed me to hold the guys accountable. I had individual meetings with each of my players, and we kind of put goals together, you know, on what they wanted to accomplish throughout the season. And throughout the season, I met with each of my players, you know, once every 2 weeks, and we had updated goals. Using analytics, we had 3 goals for each of our players, and we met twice a month, once every 2 weeks. Sometimes it was in the airport when we had our 20-day road trip in the middle of January and February. Sometimes it was at home in RGV. Sometimes it was in the pool when it was a 90-degree day in RGV, and we decided to make it a pool day. So those were the leadership aspects kind of going into it. You know, I'll kind of open if anybody has any questions, you know, just to start, or I can kind of just flow into the offensive side, you know, the basketball, and kind of talk about X's and O's and the offensive rebounding and shot selection. All right, so I'll flow into the X's and O's part. The one thing I'm going to talk about is our offensive rebounding. Our offensive rebounding this year, for me, I really enjoyed coaching it. I enjoyed doing it. I enjoyed seeing the guys do it. You know, something that I was proud about, and I think we had the personnel to do it as well. We were number 1 in the league in offensive rebounding. We had a 39% offensive rebound percentage. For you guys that don't know, so out of all the missed shots, we got about 40% of the missed shots. And, you know, with the team that, you know, led the league in 3-point shooting, that's obviously offensive rebound is a big key for us because, you know, we shot about 35.5% from 3. There are a good amount of misses coming off. So leading the league in offensive rebound and offensive rebound percentage by a wide margin is one of the biggest factors on why we ended up winning the 21-22 G League championship. We averaged 2.1 crashers on every missed shot. So to kind of give you guys an idea on what that means, the second closest team to us was at 1.5. So that's a drastic margin. The NBA, the highest team was a 1.8. Was a 1.8, but we led the league. And then just to talk about the numbers, and the biggest question that coaches have asked just over the last couple months is, how does it affect your transition defense? When we crashed 0, and the number of possessions that we had was 112 possessions where we crashed 0, Our defensive rating was 112. When we crashed 3 guys or more, and we had 273 possessions where we sent 3 guys or more to the offensive glass, our defensive rating was 96. So you guys can see we were plus 16 anytime that we crashed 3 or more in comparison to 0. You know, it's a drastic difference. Our shot selection kind of goes hand in hand with our offensive rebound percentage. One of the biggest factors for me why it's easy for us to crash the glass, we took no non-paint twos. We averaged literally one non-paint two a game, and how that affects our offensive rebound percentage, that simplifies playmaking for our guys, that simplifies decision-making, but that also simplifies when guys know they're going to crash. We took 44% of our shots were either layups or dunks. 44% was either corner threes or long threes. And then 9% of our shots were either floaters. So everyone knew what shots we were taking. Everyone knew when we're going to crash. So that also helped with our offensive rebound percentage as well. And then going into just player development, like I said, I'm just going to kind of hit on a few points, and we can kind of talk more in depth after I hit on these points. Just the player development aspect. One thing that I learned from my first year, going into my third year, it's beyond the X's and O's, and allowing guys more input in their player development. And like I hit on earlier in our preseason meetings and training camp, we would always hit on 3 goals with the guys. There would be 3 goals, whether it was shooting percentage, offensive rebound numbers, deflections, steals, how many blow-bys guys get in a one-on-one situation, on defensive closeouts. But there are always 3 situations that we focused on their goals, and 3 situations that we focused on in player development. But the biggest thing that goes with player development that I learned, my first year was more player development was priority number 1 that would lead to winning. I flip-flopped that, and winning was priority number 1. And I told the guys that your player development and your focus and accountability will help us win games, and winning games will benefit all to help those guys achieve their goals. So those are kind of just, just the main bullet points of just, some of the leadership aspects, kind of talking into it. I hope I didn't rush through it. The X's and O's with shot selection, offensive rebounding, and then just some of the player development aspects of having more of the players have more input in their individualized player development plans, as well as just focusing on winning versus just individualized player development.
Hey, Mahmoud, I've got a question quick. And if anyone has questions, feel free to drop it in the chat or raise your hand, and we'll call on you. And just make sure, just a friendly reminder, make sure you guys are on mute. Real quick, Mahmoud, so does the opponent ever dictate y'all changing up crashing boards, how many y'all send to the glass, how they play? And even your lineup too, let's say you have certain types of players that are in the game or not due to injuries or just got called up and are not in the roster. Do you kind of change up your strategy of crashing the boards?
100%. Great question, Steve. And this is when I can, I'll kind of go in more of the detail of, how we did it and why we don't, Steve, we don't adjust and we don't change what we were doing. The goal going into the season was to crash all 5 guys. We were crashing all 5 guys, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I told the guys, number 1, don't worry about transition defense. Our transition defense will be our offensive rebounding. If we crash the glass offensively and we rebound it at a high rate, guys will be too worried about us crashing that they'll be so worried about boxing us out, and they'll minimize, as the numbers back up and support Steve, them getting out in transition. So that's number 1. We were crashing all 5 guys. The question that guys always ask, coaches ask, is how do you crash the shooter? So the focus point with the shooter is anytime that they took the shot, we obviously wanted them to stay in their shot. But once the ball was released and their 2 feet hit the ground, their first steps were towards the basket. And what we identified as an offensive rebound as a crash was their first 2 steps towards the rim. How we labeled it on the court, if you guys are familiar with the NBA terminology, the LDB, the lower defensive box, which is about dunker spot to the dotted line to the opposite dunker spot. It's probably about a 7 by 10 box in the paint. 84% of missed threes end up in the LDB. Numbers support it. Throughout the NBA and the G League over the last 5 years, about 84% of missed threes end up in the LDB. So anything that we did, Steve, we did shooting drills where we would have a drive and kick shooter on the left wing, kick to the corner, re-space to the wing. Once the shooter took the shot, we had our guy immediately crash and focus on getting into the LDB. And then we just progressed by adding 2 guys on, 3 guys on, 4 guys on. And then also when we did our 5-on-0 shooting, as a lot of us coaches do in shoot around in practice, anytime that our guys took a shot in shoot around or in practice, we kept score during 5-on-0. So for them to finish their 5-on-0, they had to get 100 points. If they made the shot, it was worth the value of the shot. If all 5 guys got inside the lower defensive box, it was worth +1. If they missed the shot, obviously they didn't get the value of the shot. And then if guys were not in the LDB, it would be a -5. As you can envision, guys would get frustrated for about the first week, but then they got a hold of it. And that's why, Steve, we just never changed. And you can see as we started going throughout the season, teams started adjusting to us and their transition numbers started to decrease when they played us.
No, I love that. I love that. I appreciate it.
You got to be who you are, baby. You got to stick to who you are and believe what you believe in. And
you're right.
I'm telling you, that's who we were going to be. We weren't going to take any mid-range 2s. We were going to attack the rim, shoot 3s, and we were going to crash offensively. And if it hurt us, it hurt us. But that's who we're going to be, and our guys bought into it.
Yeah, I love that a lot. And that's actually what we do here too as well. I just don't want to give out too many of our secrets as well. But I love that idea. I actually talked to the Mystics coach, the head coach, Washington Mystics, and they do a drill too because the shot clock went down in women's basketball as well. And it kind of adjusted. If you get the offensive rebound, what are you doing? You don't really have time to pull it out, run a quick hit or whatnot. So they do run some drills and plays that really focuses on something similar to what you're saying. So you already know you're getting the offensive rebound. You know where your players are at, and you can already turn around and hit them. And if they're not there, obviously there are counters to it if they overplay it. Thank you so much. JT has a question. JT, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask.
Yeah, no, appreciate it, Coach. I'm just wondering how big of a deal conditioning is and, substitutions and such. You got guys coming off your roster, on your roster, and they know that crashing and offensive boards are a hallmark of your offense. So, how integral is the conditioning and, are guys relieved to be leaving your program or thrilled to be joining it? Like, what does that all look like?
Yeah, for sure. That's a great question, JT. But you guys that are familiar with the G League, I mean, we've played games where we've had 7 on the roster, and we've played games where we've had a full bench, So, you just kind of, and as a coach, you got to adjust. First and foremost, just defensively. I mean, I never thought I would play as much zone as I did this year, but, you just have to adjust. And there were times in timeouts, JT, I would draw up a zone and I would draw up a full court press, not just offensive or ATO that we've never worked on, just because I saw guys in foul trouble or I saw guys that were gassed. And an example of that is, we signed after January 1st, COVID hit where it starts to affect the NBA and they start to call up all the guys from the G League. we lost 5 of our guys. And the first game coming out, we had 8 guys, 7 guys on the roster. So we had to sign 2 more. And you can tell in shoot around, you know, those guys that when they start warming up, they're already in a full drench. This is not going to be good. So you just have to manage that. But it's honestly just being upfront with the guys. JT is the best thing I like, and kind of go just with accountability and just being upfront with your guys. I would tell the guys what I'm looking for them throughout the game, that, hey, JT, you're going to play 30, 35 minutes tonight. I know you've been playing about 10 to 15. If you need a breather, just let me know. I'll call a timeout. But these are the segments that you're going to play. So I would let my guys know you're going to play until that 7-minute timeout, that under 7 or that under 3, so we can kind of work with one another. Because at the end of the day, like I said, their success is my success. But I thought our strength conditioning coach, JT, he did a great job. When we were at home, we have a treadmill, fortunately, at the arena and our practice facility. He made sure they got extra work in. And for guys that did not play when we had a full roster, that's most important. They would go back to the hotel, and they had low-minute workouts at the hotel. So they'd be on the treadmill at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. And, you know, some guys would own it. Some guys would be more frustrated. But our strength and conditioning coach and our athletic training did a heck of a job. And kudos to them. We wouldn't be where we were at the end of the season without them.
That's a good question. Conditioning is important too, especially after COVID. I feel like I was watching AAU this summer. I felt like a lot of the players were just kind of gassed. I don't know about any other coaches on here, but I just felt like they weren't there in condition. Yeah. So I appreciate you. Good question, JT. Steve Ongley, go ahead and unmute yourself. And
Thanks, Steve. Coach, I appreciate you taking some time. My original question was actually about the specificity of your crashing rules. Like, are you and your staff directing players on where to crash? And I think you kind of answered that with the lower defensive box. But another question that I was curious about, just with your willingness to crash 5, did you notice your defensive rebounding numbers go up? Like, did you become a better box out, kind of go and get it team because you were putting so much pressure on the offensive glass, even in practice?
Long story short, heck no. I was telling our GM, he was, I believe we were number 1 in the league in rebounding. And the last couple of years, we've always kind of been hanging around number 10, and we've been towards the middle of the pack. And he was saying, he's like, man, our rebounding has gotten better. I'm like, our defensive rebound numbers are the same, buddy. It's just our offensive rebounds. And our shooting hasn't been as good, so we're getting more offensive rebounds. But I can kind of talk about it some more, Steve, some of the offensive rebound, and kind of go more in depth for you guys. Because honestly, I'm as candid as can be. You guys can ask all the questions. I've had a number of people try to ask. And you guys, if there's anything unclear, please do ask. So don't be shy. So we were crashing all 5. The ways that we identified it in training camp, like I said, we taped the lower defensive box. The shooter was identified, or was crashing. Once he hit, both feet hit, he's getting to the glass. The way that we charted that, going into every game, the goal was to get 10 offensive rebounds each half. That was the goal. The technique of our offensive rebounding, there were a few things that we hit on. Number 1, we always try to tell our guys, just go from the top side. As I'm sure you guys seen before, I can't remember coach's name, but, just do it from the top side. But that's not something that we made it, like this is a must. I wanted the guys just to be themselves and just put pressure on the rim, Steve. So look to crash from the top side. The biggest thing that we did focus on is anytime a 3 with the number of 3-point attempts that we took, I wanted them to go weak side. So that was our biggest focus. So just with the drill that I was kind of talking about, sometimes we would fill the strong side dunker with the big, And anytime the ball was swung to the corner, just getting our bigs used to spinning and getting around to the weak side dunker, whether that was going baseline side or over the restricted area, we did not find it beneficial going either way. Some people say you go under, you're going to get pinned in. Some people say you go over the top, you have the advantage. At the end of the day, I just told our guys just to figure out how to get to the weak side. Anytime the ball was shot in between the lane line, I wanted our bigs to get inside the LDB and in front of the rim. And anytime they were in front of the rim, they had two jobs. They were either tapping it towards the rim or they were tapping it back. So those were the drills and, being specific on what we worked on in regards to the offensive rebounding outside of taping the LDB, having our guys relocate to the weak side, and then the guys tapping it if it's in front of the rim, either towards the rim or tapping it back out.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Any other questions right now? Oh, is that Jeffrey? Go ahead and unmute yourself. Yeah. Okay, well, he didn't unmute himself, but he just put on their dribble drive or Euroball question mark. I'm not sure what you're really wanting to know about that. But maybe in that, how do you crash from a dribble drive or Euroball?
I promise you. When I told the guys, if you crash, you don't have to worry about transition defense, they all were bought in, baby. It's, it's kind of, Steve, like I'm telling you, it's truly something that was said the first day. And I told guys think I'm messing around, but it's truly just, if you guys crash, we gave up probably 2 or 3 a game, uncontested layups on the other end. And I told the guys, don't worry about it. That's on what we're doing. That's on the philosophy. But if you're just standing and watching, that's when I have a problem. There's no stand because, I should have got back. At no time and point did the words come out of me or my assistant's mouth on when the shot goes up, you need to get back.
Yeah, I believe, Mamu, that the 2 selfish times you could be in the game of basketball is at a free throw line and getting a rebound. Everything else is team ball. But unselfishly, you can be selfish about those 2 right there. Scott Fleming, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask him a question.
Hey, Mahmoud. How you doing?
Scotty? I'm great, my man.
Back to Trinidad, right?
Yeah, you got that right, baby.
Hey, so offensive rebounding. I mean, it's a philosophy. Not everybody goes by 5 to the rim, and you got to believe in what you do and do it well. Will that is this a Rockets thing, or was this just you? And can this work, you think, at the NBA level? What have you talked about with those coaches?
Great question. So just so everyone knows, so Mr. Scott Fleming, me and him worked a NBA junior camp in Trinidad and Tobago. Am I correct? Trinidad and Tobago,
yeah.
That's correct.
Yep,
a few years ago, it was the best camp of my life. And that was actually one of the first times I've done a speaking engagement to a camp of maybe 75. He asked me, I was like, sure, I'll do it. And that was one of the first times. But Scott's been unbelievable, genuine person. So, but going back to your question, Scotty, I want to pull up just to kind of go a little more in depth for you guys, kind of just the specifics and the numbers that we have. So, it was more of a me thing, the Rockets have been big on crashing. I can tell you when we were in the Western Conference Finals a few years ago, we felt the biggest key to getting, just past Golden State and kind of separating ourselves and kind of getting that extra 1 point, a game or, 0.2 points of possession was offensive rebounding. And Did they ever talk about crashing 5? No, but they talked about crashing more. And I kind of see that throughout the NBA. And, you know, a lot of teams have, you know, go guys or get back guys. Some guys label their guys as colors, as red and blue that I've seen on who's going, who's not. Some guys do it from spots on the floor. But they were open, you know, and that's the part of the G League and especially RGV, Scotty, is that they want you to kind of try things that can be used at the NBA level to help the NBA team kind of succeed. And, you know, I thought this was my 3rd year. You know, that's something that I kind of believed in. And I tried to do it my 1st year. I tried to do it into the bubble, but there wasn't enough practice time in the G League bubble. And then I kind of like thought about it going into this season, and the Rockets were all for it. Something that I did. I think you can do it at the NBA level. I think that a lot of the coaches, you know, want to get back in transition. I think a lot of, but it's just kind of how do you relay the message to them? And for me, I always try to relay the message to our guys. And if it's a game, that adds to your value. You go from a potential G League guy to a 2-way guy. You go from a 2-way guy to a potential 1 to 3 year deal guy. And that's how I kind of approach the Scotty to those guys. But I do think you could do it at the NBA level. We're actually going to sit down and talk about it here after Labor Day weekend as the Rockets staff. So if you guys see a number of guys crashing, hopefully, you know, I would have had some input in that. So
okay.
Hopefully I answered your question, Scotty.
Yep.
Thank you, Scott. Appreciate you. Always good to see friends and family on the calls, especially when you've got a history and some type of a basketball experience. It's crazy what the game does for us to bring friends and family together, and it creates it. So thank you so much, Scotty. Jeffrey, can you go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question?
Basketball always comes second, Steve. Life comes first, baby.
You're right. You're right.
Basketball, there'll always be a basketball to bounce.
It's true. Very true. I guess he's not able to unmute himself. He's not responding, but I don't know if this question is a serious question, but he did ask it. He said, for Asian teams, what is effective dribble drive or Euroball? And then his second question is, what should Kai Sotto of the Philippines do to be drafted in the NBA?
Can you repeat that again?
The first question was, for Asian teams, what is effective dribble drive or Euroball? And then the second question is, what should Kai Sotto of the Philippines do to be drafted in the NBA?
That is a tough question because I haven't. That is not my Synergy downloads or my Second Spectrum. But just, I mean, in regards to, you know, getting drafted, you know, it's talent, work ethic supersedes all. I mean, if you're working hard, somebody's going to find you. Every NBA team has 12 to 15 scouts. You know, some guys are focused on college, some are focused internationally. So if you're,
you know,
sorry, I just don't watch. Shot selection, I'm sure, will work everywhere.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And you know, I was just talking to a but how do y'all, I guess, talk about, you know, that leadership, you know, in the locker room, or, you know, with y'all, your staff, new staff, and what you've learned and what you've taught? How do y'all come together and find that leadership within that team in the locker room?
For sure. Great question, Steve. You know, we've had 6 first-round draft picks in the last 2 years. We currently have, forgive me, I'm mistaken, but give or take 1 or 2, but we have 7 or 8 guys, 20 or younger on the team. You know, so it's, you know, our oldest guy is, you know, we have Eric Gordon, who's been obviously in the NBA, who's a great vet. You know, we have Trey Burke, who's around. We have Sterling Brown. You know, it's kind of just, you know, lean by example and just, you know, the staff, you know, kind of just helping these guys, you know, find their routine. That's something that's just been talked about, you know, is helping these guys find their routine. And, you know, they don't know what they don't know, you know, because 82 games is a lot different than 50 games in the G League. 50 games is a lot different than 30 to 35 games at the collegiate level. And 82 games is a heck of a lot different than, you know, 30, 35 games at the collegiate level. And, you know, by the time come January 1st, a lot of these guys would have played the same amount of games that they would have played in college in a month and a half to 2 months. So it's kind of just helping these guys build a routine, Stephen, you know, going back to the player development aspect of, do guys understand, you know, the things that they don't know and what they lack, you know, and helping them improve, whether it's their sleeping habits, you know, their nutrition, you know, their work ethic. So that kind of all goes hand in hand, but you get that right first, the basketball stuff will take care of itself.
Absolutely. Any other questions so far? If nothing, then I'm going to keep moving on if you guys don't have anything. All right. Go ahead, Mamu. You can continue if you have anything else to add on that.
Yeah, no, for sure, 100%. So just because, you know, a few people have just asked just in regards to the offensive rebounds. So some of the things, just grading our guys, you know, after every game on the offensive rebounds, you know, in our post-game edits, we would always have a separate edit just for our offensive rebounds. And we would always pull about 10 clips. And it would be 5 clips of guys not crashing and then 5 clips of guys crashing. And we would always pull the numbers of the number of time guys crashed. And once again, we were fortunate enough, we would always have the numbers that the Houston Rockets provided us and the support. And we would give them the numbers individually, saying, Steve Yang, you had 10 opportunities to get to the glass. You only crashed 1 time. Steve, you had 15 opportunities to crash. You only crashed 3 times. And that was something that we held those guys accountable to individually. And then as a team, the goal would always to be try to get 20 offensive rebounds. Just to simplify it, and for staff, the goal was always to get 40 off the offensive rebound percentage was to get it to 40. So that's how we graded it. Our offensive rebounds, you know, lo and behold, I mean, it worked for us. Obviously, very fortunate. But yeah, that's pretty much that's all I got. You know, if anybody has any questions on anything or.
Mahmoud, so when you guys are talking offense rebounds, you're talking about go get it balls. It's not the ball goes out of bounds. All right, it's still offense ball because it's tipped out of bounds. Or are you guys still counting those as offense rebounds?
Yeah. As long if we get there, we get a hand on the ball, we've done our job.
Okay, so it's still okay. I got you.
Yeah, because you want to get inside the LDB because you create second chance opportunities. Obviously, the best 2 times to get an open 3s in transition and off offensive rebounding. So that's one thing relaying to the guys, but then also stopping their transition defense is by offensive rebounding or a dead ball turnover or they don't have possession is by tapping out of bounds. And that goes hand in hand with when a shot is taken in between the lane lines, we want guys tapping it towards the rim if they feel they can't control it or back, because we weren't having guys get back in transition. There should be guys at the top of the key.
For sure. Louis, you have a question? Go ahead and unmute yourself.
I do. What's up, Mahmoud? Assalamu alaikum, bro.
Alaikum salam, my brother. How you doing?
Good, man. And good question for you, man. What kind of experiments have you seen from other G League teams and from your years in the league there? You know, what kind of things have they been doing that maybe some NBA teams have now done or taken, and maybe they haven't done or taken from their experiments that you've seen?
That's a very good question. That's a very good question. One thing that I see teams doing a lot more now is blitz and pick and rolls, or just running and jumping in the half court. You know, not just the end of quarter, you know, not when you're down 2, down 5, under a minute. But you see in the first quarter, if, you know, 6 to 10 seconds on the shot clock, you know, early in the shot clock, there's a pick and roll. You know, teams are just looking to blitz more. And I think that goes just hand in hand with trying to get more possessions. Whether you score or not, teams want to speed up the game. And I think they're just trying to find ways to speed up the game. And I think just blitzing, running, and jumping is one of the things I've kind of seen in my time, Louis, you know, from my first year as head coach to now, of teams doing a lot more. But there's nothing real that like stands out that's like out of the box. You know, teams are full court pressing, you know, 2-2-1, 1-2-2. Teams have tried some 1-3-1 zone, 3-2 zone, but nothing, you know, unique. Like man, I've never ever seen that, or I've never thought of something similar to that. But if you've seen something, please do share, because I would love to learn.
Thanks. Yep, got you. Thank you.
Man. Good to see you.
You too.
Scott, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question.
Yeah. Hey, while we're on offensive rebounding, Mahmoud, talk about are you coaching them after the attempt for offensive rebound? Is there anything to getting back? Is there any transition strategy after they're really all crashing? And my second question, any specifics on the free throw line when you're going for offensive rebounds, and you know what you're teaching them? Are they peeling off? Are they picking one guy? You know, those kind of things that some coaches do on the offensive rebounds.
For sure, no, 100%. So our transition defense, the two things that we talked about was just obviously, you know, getting back, protecting the rim, and then stopping the ball. But the cues for that, if a guy had 2 hands on the ball and secured the rebound, our first step should be back in transition. You know, I wanted our guys to be aggressive, but I didn't want the shot goes up, ball hits the rim, I'm standing, they get it, now I'm running in, and guys, I was crashing. So we told them that anytime that they secured the rebound and they had 2 hands on it, your first step is back in transition. And we just told them to sprint back, you know, first guy's back, second guy's protecting the, stopping the ball, and then everybody else just kind of get back and find your man. In regards to the free throw, the only thing that we did, Scotty, is whoever was on the 2-man side of the box out, we told them be higher towards the guy towards the top man. And then whoever was on the single side was to crash down. And we wanted the guy on the 2 side to go over the top. So that was the only thing that we talked about. You know, we would review it once in a while. Some guys would do it. Did I believe it helped us? It was truly honestly, Scotty, in their minds, it just got to a point that they were crashing as if it was a defensive rebound and they had to have it, whether it was a free throw, and they just had it in their mind that we had a crash. I mean, we had 4 games this year where we had 30+ offensive rebounds.
Yeah, a lot of it's just building habits, right? Where they're doing it in practice, and it's just they don't know what else to do.
Correct.
You know, if I was playing against that, I'd probably just take a look at leaking somebody out, sending somebody down. Did that hurt you at all?
No. Like I said, I mean, there were games where we gave up 2 or 3 uncontested layups, but I was betting that if we crash 3+ guys, it's gonna benefit us more than it benefits you leaking out a guy.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks for asking, Scotty.
Scotty, those are really two good questions. Really good. Appreciate you asking. Mike Messinas, is that right? Go ahead and unmute yourself and ask.
Steve, how are you? Mahmood, how are you? It's McInnes, but pretty close.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't close. Hold him accountable. Here we go.
Yeah, I was not.
Say it again, Mike. What's your last name?
It's McInnes.
McInnes.
Yeah.
McInnes. What is that? Come on, Steve.
Mahmood, how are you? I'm in Australia. I coach at the junior level in Australia. My question is, and I like the idea of the offensive crashing the boards principle. I think it generates a lot of energy in players as well. Would you be teaching the same type of scenario to juniors? And if so, from what age would you do that to try and instill in their mindset so that as they're playing through to adult age, all of a sudden, it's not all of a sudden you've got to do this. They've learned from a young age and already understand that's the way they should be playing on a continuous level. And obviously, there's different scenarios where different coaches are going to come and say, no, I want you doing this and I want you doing this.
Sure.
At every change, they're probably going to have a different coach every year or so. So,
For sure. That's a great question, Mike. Can I ask what age group is your the junior program that you work with?
Well, we coach a representative levels from under 12s up to under 23.
Okay.
So, under 18s is the junior level. It's the Victorian Junior Basketball League. So.
Okay. So for me now, I can somewhat relate. So I actually started off coaching middle school boys, 6th through 8th grade in Chicago. I spent 2 years, as Steve said, I spent 2 years as a sophomore head coach. So coaching 14 to 16-year-olds and a varsity assistant. And then I spent 2 years on the AU circuit, or 3 years, coaching everywhere from 14U to 17U. And then I coach obviously now. So with that being said, Mike, I definitely do. If I were to go back and coach high school, coach AU, coach the younger programs, I just think rebounding overall, whether it's offense or defense, I think that just brings a toughness to a player and brings more energy, like you said. And if you can build that at a young age and you can potentially, increase a player's motor, I think that's one thing that's like very hard to teach. But I think if you teach a guy how to rebound the basketball, because some guys may not be as vocal. They may crash the glass, but they might not be the yeller. But if you can teach them at a young age to consistently crash on offense or defense, I definitely think it would be beneficial, because then I also think, Mike, along those lines, you can also teach them the importance of what shots to crash on and help them understand the shot recognition with spacing. That's a whole nother level. But hey, we're going to crash only on 3-point shots, so we want to focus only on getting 3-point shots and maybe help them improve their shot selection at a young age as well and simplify it to help them grow in their development.
Yeah. Just based on that as well, what are your thoughts on under 12s shooting from the 3-point? They have a different 3-point line under 12s, but we have some boys who can comfortably actually make that range and still shoot with good techniques. Techniques still in shoot, go up and land basically in the same shooting position without having to jump, a meter forward off their shot to get the ball going there. So, do you have a thought on that? Is that okay to still be doing at a young age?
Yeah, that's funny that you ask. I actually had a buddy of mine ask. His son is 16 years old and he's a junior in high school, and he was asking just at what age should they start just focusing on the 3-point shot. And I think it should be a focus obviously when you get to the pros. And I mean, you can start at that young of an age, Mike, but I don't think it should be a daily consistent thing with them.
Yeah.
If it's a Monday and Thursday, we're going to shoot threes. So the guys know it's a buildup going to that, or the end of the week. Hey, Mondays and Tuesdays, we're focused on form shooting and mid-range shooting. Wednesdays and Thursdays, we're extending. And then when we get to Friday, Saturdays, we're going to focus on our 3-point shooting. So I think you should shoot them, Mike, because I think you challenge them, and you always want to challenge it and keep it competitive and somewhat put in, some things that guys can't achieve or would be too easy for them, and something to build up towards.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you for asking that.
No worries.
That's good. Good question. I like that, building up to it. If anyone has questions, feel free to put in the chat, let us know, raise your hand, and we'll call on you. Just talking to earlier, Mahmoud, I was talking to the NBA guy, and I won't mention the team again, but we were talking about rebounding. And one of the players that they cut, athletic as heck, but wasn't really strong enough, because the pro level, we look at guys like Dennis Rodman wasn't the tallest guy, but he could rebound the heck of the ball because he's watching the flight and he's a strong dude. And Charles Oakley and all these old school guys. But how much has the game changed in the sense where you guys are, allowing their athleticism to get the rebound opposed to strength? Because strength is a huge difference. He wasn't able to get around it. And that was a big reason why he got cut. And he was a good player. He started for them, but he kind of let go eventually because he couldn't get the rebounds. And these guys they're recruiting, they're a lot stronger. They're getting around. Athleticism works, but to what extent? Can you kind of touch on that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I go back to Dennis Rodman. They always said Dennis Rodman always rebound for every single one of his teammates after practice. He would not allow his ball boys, the managers, to rebound because he wanted to get a feel for how they missed their shots. And you guys know, there are guys on the offensive end that can be as athletic as all get out, but they just don't seem as coordinated. So how does that transition? Do they have a feel for it? Same thing goes for a rebound. I think guys just have to have a feel, how a ball is going to come off. If I'm taking a pull-up 3 from 30 feet and I'm sprinting straight to the rim and I'm going to jump up and it's probably going to bounce over my head. You know what I mean? So if a guy's taking a mid-range 2 or a 7-foot step back fadeaway, it's probably going to fall within 7 feet of the rim. And guys just understanding corner shots, it's probably going to miss weak side. Front of the shot is probably going to miss to the in the restricted area. So kind of just that, Steve. I think it's not about just how the game has changed, and I do think guys may be a little more athletic. Obviously, things have changed over the last 10 years, let alone 20, 30 years. But it's just the guys feel and understanding where shots are taken from and how they're going to miss.
No, absolutely. I heard the same thing, and it's really true. And one thing we agreed on is that it's all about heart. Really believe rebounding, defense play at the heart, offense play at the mind. It's really who's the most competitive person, who's the most hungry and thirsty to go after that ball. Absolutely.
For sure.
Any other questions for Mahmoud? His season's rolling up, and I know he's got a lot to do. I don't want to hold you too much, brother. But anytime I can get you, I'm gonna steal every single second I can. But any questions you guys out there that might have? Good. Nothing. Coach, Mike McPowell, you have anything?
No, man. I'm taking notes, so it's crazy. I've thought about it, Michael, because transition defense is a huge part of our thing. It's what makes us good defensively. But we go the opposite way. If somebody's hurting us, we go like 2 back, 3 back, 4 back. I'll go 5 back if I. So it's just really just a different way of thinking.
And that Mike, that's how I was when we were getting hurt in transition. It's because we weren't crashing enough. Now it's 10, 3, 4 more guys. Like, we've got to keep going. And it literally, like, the numbers backed it up. The film backed it up. The eye test in game, backed it up. And that's something the guys bought in. And every time out, that was the one stat that I focused on was our offensive rebound. And if we had one offensive rebound, fast break points were usually in their favor by a wide margin. If our offensive rebound numbers were up, fast break points were probably even or in our favor. And, just trying to be different, Mike. At the end of the day, that's something guys truly enjoy. Everyone loves scoring and getting more opportunities. And you can kind of give them some leeway towards that. They may be bought into doing some other things on the defensive end as well.
Well, I wonder if I can, because we do crash the 3, 4, and 5, right? And then we have the two we call a ball and hole get back guys. And every 5-on-0 rep, those 3, 4, like ball never hits the ground in our 5-on-0 or whatever. But we're the 8th best defensive rebounding team in the country last year. We're the 300th worst, best, whatever you want to say, offensive rebounding team in the country. Even though we like all of our habits and every 5-on-0 like is you got to crash and we stat it. But I just kind of gave into it and said, oh, we're not athletic enough, or we're not, blah, 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 blah. But I do want to, and that's my film session tomorrow morning. Actually, planned film session is to watch rebounding and start to like implement that, because we're doing our 10 practices for the summer for a foreign tour. We're taking a foreign tour. So the first thing I start talking about is rebounding. But I do want to improve their offensive rebounding. And I'm like a defensive rebounding guy, so I coach that naturally. But I would love to get, obviously, like the points per possession on offensive rebounding. Are they in your league? What's higher points per possession, transition offense or offensive rebounding?
That's a great question. They're both hand in hand. Transition offenses by far. It's in the 1.35, if I'm not mistaken, around that area. But offensive rebound, just what it does, more so looking at it from a different view, is what it does to transition defense. Is
it takes away their transition, yeah.
It takes away their transition offense, and then your transition defense is worse when you don't crash, and your offensive rebounding is a lot better and more valuable compared to when you're not crashing.
It's going to change everything tomorrow. Everybody's crashing. Thanks a lot, Mahmoud. We'll see.
Hey, try it out. You'll be surprised. I'm telling you.
Actually, I want to know, Coach McInnes, is Australia are they the ones who came up with the tagging concept? Like everybody crashes, but this idea of like tagging, I don't even know what that is. I saw like a quick thing on it. What is? Do you know what I'm talking about, Mahmoud? Where you like crash?
Yeah. Coach Aaron, I believe his name is Aaron. I can't remember his name. Aaron Fern, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody help me out.
So what is it? What is it exactly?
Well, can I speak in? Yep.
Of course.
Tagging here in Australia is basically would probably come under our code of AFL, Australian Football League. They're probably maybe where it started from, because our footballers over here, we play a different style of footy. I don't know how many of you ever watch the AFL, but it's actually a pretty fast, intense way of playing a ball sport. It's a handed football sport, and they tag a lot of players in the AFL to obviously keep close contact. It's played in a very big arena, so possibly that's where it's come from a little bit more. And we have a lot of boys here that play, and girls as well, actually, because girls play football here now too. But a lot of them play the mixed sport, so they play, especially at junior level. We don't want to just keep them playing basketball. We want them to play other sports as well. So the ones that play AFL, it's a fast running, aggressive tackling game, and tagging would come from that. So they might bringing that into basketball, trying to lock down on a player, lock a player down. So that tagging type of role would come into it. So especially in junior basketball, if any of you ever coached junior basketball, you notice you always have one or two players who are quite outstanding, as opposed to maybe the other 8 if you've got a 10-player squad. So sometimes when playing against certain teams, you want to try and lock some of those players out of the game. So you might place your best defender, play on one of those great offensive players to tag them, lock them down, so their scoring is not as high in a game. So I don't know, possibly. Yeah, it would be my say on it.
Steve, do you know what? Steve, you knew that this came from this guy Aaron or Fern or something?
Yeah. Hey, Coach, my understanding is what they do is when whoever is blocking you out when you crash the board, that's your man in transition. You're tagging, like you're matching up based on who's blocking you out.
Okay.
Yeah.
I find it so interesting that, like you could have talked about early offense, like you could have talked about offensive sets, you could have talked but offensive rebounding is like sounds like what was a humongous piece of winning the championship.
100%. It's just
go
ahead.
Just like that's effort. That's just conditioning for sure.
Yeah, just holding them to it. That was something I truly believe that it was me. That's what I wanted to do. That's what I believed in. It was our offensive rebounding and our shot selection was the two things. Crash 5 and don't take any mid-range shots. That's what I believed in. Everything else, I told the guys, like, well, we're going to play structured defensively. We had our principles. But other than that, offensively, you look as we took some wild threes. Wild. But the guys bought in. I was like, they knew. They took a non-paint 2. They knew the consequences for it. But they also knew that when their shot went up, everybody was crashing. If a guy took a pull-up 3 in transition, can you imagine a 6'11", 265-pound guy coming from half court crashing the glass and a 6'8" guy crashing from the wing on a pull-up? Like, have fun trying to box that out.
Well, what I was going to say that too is like even trying to scout that playing against y'all. If I was the opposing team and coach, I'm thinking, holy crap! Like now we got to practice this. We got to work on boxing out and all that. Like how do I would like to know what their game plan to go against y'all.
If
but I want to make
like it. I mean, just watch our watch our last game in the championship against Delaware. Like you guys you can see in there, just see, how we're doing, how we're crashing. You can see it in just the last game.
Okay, for sure. I want to make sure Jason gets an opportunity to ask this question. Jason, if you want to unmute yourself and ask one of your questions.
First off, thanks again, coaches, for organizing this, and coach for hosting a great topic, offensive rebounding. My question would be, since, you guys. Oh, sorry. Say again.
Can I ask your full name? I know a lot of Jasons in my life.
Oh yeah, Jason Lantero. I coach varsity girls high school basketball up in the Bay Area. Up in
Nice
California.
to meet you, my man.
Thank you very much. I was wanting to ask, since you guys are experts in offensive rebounding, if you had to go against a team that would specialize in this, I know you kind of mentioned just a couple of items, but if you were going against your own team, how would you counter the offensive rebounding? Any unusual strategies like tandem rebounding? I don't know, maybe a lock left type defense where rebounding would be primarily on one side and maybe just load up that area. Just curious to any specific strategies you may have seen out in the field.
That's a great question, Jason. So number one, I would definitely increase my amount of prayer. That's number one. You gotta increase that, my man. Number two, you better score a hell of a lot more points than they do. Yeah, no, I mean, it's hard. I mean, when somebody's bought into crashing, and especially if their personnel has and they have the personnel to do so, and you can't match up with them, it's going to be something difficult. You might have to think about other ways to either, do you want to slow the game down and minimize the possessions, and kind of force it into a half court game, and take good quality shots on the offensive end. Defensively, you might want to keep, mix it up, full court, take some time off the clock, keep them in the half court, play some zone. So you just might want to think of different ways. If your opponent has the personnel and they're going to do it, you just got to be able to gain more possessions on offense. That's one way, or slow it down and minimize the possessions, whichever way you feel is best based on how good you guys are offensively. That's my thought. Everything in the game of basketball is an opinion, my man. Just depends what you believe in, baby.
Coach, one more just follow up with that. When you guys grab offensive boards, do you usually go, I guess this may be a personnel related question, but do you guys give a green light to the rebounder and just go back up? Or do you guys look to repair your offense, look for the kick out three? Just curious.
Gave them the option. You know, like I said earlier, the two best times to get an open threes in transition and off offensive rebound. But I was always taught, just growing up, if you work hard enough to get the offensive rebound, you've earned the right to shoot it. So they have the right. Just get in there and crash, and then everything else will take care of itself.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Coach.
Thanks, Jason. Thank you for asking. Good luck this coming season.
Thank you. You too.
God bless, my man.
Mahmoud, I agree 100%. I be yelling at the post players, man. You work so hard to get it, you don't give it away. Man. I wouldn't do that. If I work so hard for this dream, I get it. You got to protect it, right? So,
and the thing with that is you have to be very cautious because we know the big man usually is not the best passer on the floor.
You're right. Absolutely. And they normally go after it too. Once they get the rebound, they go after it, you know.
100%.
And most of the time, the offensive player, when they're shooting it, the guards aren't used to boxing out because most teams, what do you think they're doing? The defense is thinking the shooter's getting back anyways. So they're not used to boxing out. Even the two guard or the one guard, they're not used to boxing out. So that point guard running in to get the rebound, I would assume, I didn't look, and forgive me for not looking, but I would assume your guards are one of the top rebounding guards in the G League last year.
Yeah, all three of our guards that played at the point averaged over one offensive rebound.
See,
which is
that's impressive.
Very good.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I truly believe in that too, man. Any other questions? I don't want to monopolize this, man. Mahmoud, I mean, him and I can be on the phone forever. Great friend, brother of mine, and I want y'all to also have this opportunity to ask questions Brian, go ahead. Brian, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask Mahmoud your question.
Coach Mahmoud.
What's happening, Brian? How we doing?
Doing well. Brian Camacho, Long Beach State. I just really want to say I love the way you think outside the box. I love the fact that you being a maverick in this basketball world. I mean, they once said people were crazy for shooting threes. And with this, you're fostering, without question, toughness, mindset. Obviously, we think about Michigan State, Tom Izzo. He's not going all five, but the consistency and the toughness to stay with it. It was more of a comment. It's not necessarily a question. Continue to be that maverick. Continue to share this perspective. And thank you for revolutionizing this game of basketball. And it brings so much energy and a different perspective. And that we got to encourage. You know, people are afraid, right? People are afraid to think like this, but this is very inspiring. So thank you for your perspective and thank you for your thoughts. And hey, let's continue to change it one by one.
100%, baby. 100%. Appreciate you, my man. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Good luck this season.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate your words of encouragement. Mahmoud, do you have any, if there aren't any more questions, do you have any final thoughts, any advice you'd like to give any of these young coaches out here that may be out there trying to reach their, their dreams and goals in life? Because I know, brother, going back to where we first met, man, your journey and just watching you grow into this, it's amazing. It's a beautiful story, and it's still being told. And any advice that you have for these younger cats, I say younger, but guys in this profession or even ladies in this profession that wants to get to the next level?
So just quickly, so for you guys that don't know, me and Steve met. This was the second camp that I've ever worked when I realized I wanted to coach. I believe it was in 2011 in Minnesota. We worked the Tubby Smith, Minnesota basketball camp, and Tom Izzo is one of my biggest mentors. I coached his nephew at St. Cloud State. Tom has always told me, just network, go work as many camps as you can, and get to know people. And I'll tell you from this day, I mean, there are people that I work camp with that are Division I assistants, that are assistant GMs in the NBA. For you guys that are in it, the younger guys that are looking to get into it, just be yourself. Plain and simple. Be yourself. There's going to be a lot of people out there that want you to do this, want you to do that. What will get you to where you are is being yourself. It's going to help you, it's going to help you network. It's going to help you build those genuine relationships. It's going to help you find jobs. Whatever you believe in, just believe in it. Be strong in what you believe in. And for all the other guys that have been in it for a while, just keep impacting people's lives, because it's beyond basketball. Basketball always comes second. For us to become better basketball coaches, we first got to be the best people that we can be. And it can't be vice versa. You're not going to become a better basketball coach and then become a better person. So just keep impacting these people's lives. Be the more patient one with others. When you think something's wrong or think something's against you, just be patient. Just be patient. Just be patient, and everything else will work out for the best. So God bless, baby.
I appreciate it, Mahmoud. That means a lot, brother.
Hey, Steve, I'm going to get going here, but if you can share my email with all the coaches. Yeah. Honestly, man, it's been a pleasure. I tell Steve this. I've told Mike this. I hope in summer, maybe next summer, we can have the Asians Coach Association in person. We can have a get together. We can have a weekend camp, whatever it is. I would love to do so. But just stay in touch. And we know how difficult it is when we all get busy. But if I can help with something, if I can share some video, help you guys out, come talk to you guys, and I'm in the same town. You guys want to come watch an NBA practice. If it can happen, I'll try my best. It's not always a yes, but you guys have me in your corner. So just shoot me an email, and we can definitely stay in contact and build those relationships.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Mahmoud. I just want to thank everyone. Again, JT, All Athlete, thank you so much for sponsoring. Those that jumped on, I just put on the chat our Twitter, Instagram, and Mahmoud's email address. Please follow us. We've got another session next week. I won't mention who it is, but we're going to blast it out next Wednesday. I believe it's the same time. And he's in the G League. Mahmoud, you might know him, but we'll talk. But yeah, we'll have
me again. Surprise.
Man, this is great.
Next weekend is transition defense and the importance of getting back.
We love it, brother. We love it. Thank you so much, Mike McPile. Thank you so much for your leadership in the Asian Coach Association. Garrett, appreciate you putting this on as well, too. All that you do, and Connor as well. Thank you again, y'all. Have a great evening. Enjoy. God bless.
Hey, support the Rockets, baby. Go Rockets, baby.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Take care, guys.